Hello, Mellow Moments Club members. Thanks for joining me today. I'm here at Cox's Creek at the warehouse and bottling facility in the barrel selection room. And today I'm going to talk to you about the limited edition small batch 2021. This is something we're very excited about. It's something that we do every year. And one of the questions I always get is, how do we determine what the flavor profile is going to be? What batches go into each year's limited edition and why? And really the first criteria that we have is really just has to be good. It has to be smooth, has to be mellow, has to fit into the family of Four Roses bourbons, which all follow that same philosophy. But beyond that, we like to showcase our versatility with the 10 recipes. So the goal each year is to create something that's different from the year past and in previous editions of the limited editions that we've done. So this year is no exception. I think we've created something that's totally unique and something that's totally interesting, smooth and mellow and complex. But it all begins with pulling different batches out of those pool of barrels that have been reserved for these limited editions. And that's going through and evaluating the different batches and deciding which ones might work together well. You know, at first it's just kind of imagining. And then the next step is actually starting to create test blends. And you never know where that's going to end up. This year, immediately there are a few batches that stood out that were very unique, that seemed like they would really contribute a lot to the final blend of the product. And of course, 4 of those are in front of you here. There were other paths that were taken, but ultimately these 4, when they came together, created something that was just fantastic that we wanted to call this year's limited edition small batch. Some of the batches that stand out here, one in particular is this 12-year-old OBSQ. Now, it's been a long time since we've put a Q into any product other than our Four Roses bourbon. It has been in a limited edition before, but it's been over a decade ago. So I was excited to find this batch and work it into the flavor profile of this year's small batch. It's, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Q, it creates nice floral, somewhat candied aromas, especially at the older ages. At the younger ages, it's a little bit one-dimensional. It's got a very robust and clean floral note to it. On the palate, you get a little bit more of that sweetness. But once you let that age, it really gets more complex. It gets a lot more body. And that's exactly what this particular batch brought to this blend. We also have an OBSV that's 16 years old, a 16-year-old OESV, and a 12-year-old OESK. So with all of our products, it's all about balance. So with the Q, we get a lot of that floral candied flavor and aroma. With both of these, even though these are both 16 years old, they're very different. The OBSV is, you get a lot of rye. Even for that age, it's remarkable how much rye still comes forward on the aroma and on the palate. Some nice spice from the rye. You still get a lot of those nice fruity notes that you expect with the V. But when you go to the OESV, this one really is the one that comes through with more of the layers of complexity, more of the fruits, the apricot, green apple, but a lot of oak also. This one has, even though they're the same age, this one has a lot more of the antique, like dried oak flavor that I think really plays well with the rest of these batches. And of course the K, it's always there to balance out these other flavors. It's bright and spicy, it's clean. I call this one the young one of the batch, but you know, at 12 years, that's not young. But compared to these 16-year-olds, it is very vibrant, and I think you can taste that in the final blend. It really gives some legs and some vibrant characteristics to the overall blend. So when you bring them all together, it's interesting because each one of these has, they're very different. Each one has its own individual characteristics that, you know, there are of course some similarities, but they're very different. When you bring them together, you know, that's part of the challenge of blending, is you want to bring something together, and sometimes you can do it haphazardly and get lucky. Sometimes you work it piece by piece, and that's really how this one evolved. It was bring different batches together, adding a little bit of the different batches after the core was kind of finalized, and just seeing, you know, how you could add different layers of complexity, extra nuance to it, whether it was more oak, more of the candied flavor and aroma, more of the spice, and just getting that balance perfect. And that's really what I think we've accomplished here with this one. And this one's also higher proof than most, I think, of any of our past releases of the limited editions. It's 114.2 proof, and immediately with all those vibrant flavors that I described and that higher proof, you get that just on the aroma. And then on the palate, it's interesting because so much hits your palate at first, you just get an impression of a very bright, rich, and robust bourbon. And it takes a second for all those complex flavors to kind of start to unfold into all their different nuanced parts. I get a lot of barrel notes, and just the straight up oak that I was talking about in this particular batch. I'm getting vanilla cream, some nutmeg, and a lot of the nice fruit that I'm getting from the V's. And with the combination of the V's and the Q's, I get some really unique, like berry type candied flavors and aromas. And all of these flavors are just unfolding, and they're fading into a nice, rich finish that just lasts forever. I'm still getting, it hasn't really diminished at all. I'm still getting all those rich flavors on the palate. So, every year, like I said, we try to do something different and sort of explore different possibilities with our range of 10 recipes and different ages. And with this one, I think we've really accomplished that. It's so bright, so robust, but rich, layered, and again, as the finish unfolds, as the palate unfolds, you get all of those different layers just coming out. It's so complex, and it's just a very nice bourbon. Also, for the percentages on these, the OBSQ, now it doesn't take a lot of Q to go a long way because it has such unique flavor and aroma, that this one is in the blend at 6%. The OBSV is 13%. The OESV, which is the one that was kind of the base of the entire blend, was in at 58%, and then the OESK at 23%. So I hope you all have a chance to try this, and until I can see you in person, I just raise a toast to you, say cheers. Thank you.